It was a serious emergency. It was a crisis for wildlife, an SOS. And people all around the world wanted us to solve this problem and bring an end to this brutality. And we realized that even if this was going to take this entire lifetime, it was worth it because we would have put an end to something that was completely unacceptable.
The subcontinent of India contains one of the rarest bears on Earth. Unique in its development over millennia, yet like so many large mammals, finds itself as a sideshow attraction. For over 400 years in India, the sloth bear was targeted for human exploitation. First for the emperors, then as roadside entertainment for villagers and tourists who paid to watch the bears jump, conditioned after years of abuse by trainers. Given the ongoing legacy of cruelty, two individuals decided to stop this practice, rescue the bears still in captivity, and create a sanctuary where they can heal and live in safety for the rest of their lives. This is Wildlife SOS, the brainchild of Kartik Satyanarayan and Geeta Seshamani.
The first biggest challenge that we took on as Wildlife SOS was to address the issue of dancing bears. India was plagued with a major problem. It was a barbaric practice that started off 400 years ago, but we had these endangered sloth bears being exploited on the streets. They were used for street entertainment while they were already protected under the law since 1972.
Initially, for the first 2 years, we just did rescues till we really got into our first big project, which was the dancing bears.
Geeta and I worked tirelessly for initial 30 months, visiting village after village of a community called the Kalandars. This was a nomadic gypsy community that was actually poaching the bears, these baby bears, working with poachers in different parts of India, having the mothers killed, their body parts were harvested, and then the baby bears were then taken away and brutalized.
We lived in about 68 to 70 villages. It took a lot of restraint and self-control not to lose one's temper or to literally get into a fight with some of the people, with some of the cruelties that we saw the animals undergoing.
Using a red hot iron poker where they would put a hole through the muzzle and then a thick, coarse rope through it. And then that pain that the bear would suffer would make the bear jump in pain and of course suffering. That hopping of the bear up and down was called as dancing. And so these people would take these bears, string them out and take them on the streets across India in over 13 states. Just to eke out a living for themselves. So we started visiting each and every family, each and every community. We stayed with them. We visited over 200 villages, stayed with these people, understood what they were doing. And as we dug deeper, we found out that every single bear they had was actually poached.
It was also a long haul, making the authorities understand that if we didn't do something about the dancing bears, we would actually lose the sloth bear in the wild. The sloth bear is such a precious heritage for India. We're the only country with the sloth bears.
The lush Indian subcontinent enjoys one of the richest ecosystems in the world. Despite representing 2.4% of the world's land area, it accounts for nearly 8% of all recorded species, including 45,000 types of plants and 91,000 species of animals. It also has one of the largest populations of any country, with some 1.4 billion people sharing the land with large mammals and venomous snakes, leading to a high rate of human-animal conflict. Perhaps the world's most unusual bear, the Indian sloth bear grows up to 400 pounds and lives on a diet of ants, termites, and fruit. Scientists believe it is among the oldest members of the bear family to develop and became a highly specialized, mostly nocturnal hunter. It uses its specially developed palate and lip, created over millions of years of evolution to suck insects into its mouth. Determined to rescue them, Kartik and Geeta wanted these exploited bears to have a second chance. But the work had to begin with people.
And it was getting worse. The community also had a bad deal. They had no education, they were in extreme poverty, they had no health care, they didn't even have toilets or drinking water. And so we realized we had to start with that. So the first thing Geeta and I did was we made sure that Wildlife SOS installed hand pumps in these villages. We gave them drinking water. And the gift of water is something extremely special and rare that people sometimes don't realize and they take it for granted. So we gave them water. Following that, we started talking to the community, empowering the women, because it was a very patriarchal community. The women had no place at all. They were not second income earners, and it was the men who would go out and earn the money with their bears. So we started working with the women, taught them skills, special skills like tailoring, embroidery, carpet weaving, things like that. And then we started buying those things off them as we trained them with those skill sets. And that made them get negotiating power in the community. We empowered them. We also negotiated with the community and stopped them from doing child marriages, which was a big evil in the society that we were working with. Following that, we then convinced them to send their children to school. And to this day, Wildlife SOS supports the school fees, the education of over 1,600 children from these communities.
And from 10,000, the numbers have fallen down to about 4,500 to 5,000, simply because they were being poached so rapidly for this trade. They were, of course, also going out for Chinese medicine, but that we came to know a little later.
But what we had to deal with was working with the men, the Kalandar men in the community, and convince them that they did not need to exploit these bears and indulge in this illegal activity and this barbaric act in order to earn a living and support their families. We supported them with training, skill training, and we opened bank accounts for them, gave them seed funds, so they could actually earn a livelihood using other means rather than exploiting these endangered bears.
Traditionally, Uttar Pradesh state contains some of the largest sloth bear populations in India. But by the late 1990s, the state and the major city of Agra had become home to the greatest number of dancing bears in the country.
Not only did we have the Taj Mahal, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world, but it also had the largest number of dancing bears around the Taj Mahal and those areas. So we started working with the community over there, and we realized that it made most sense to establish a rescue and a rehabilitation center closest to the problem area, which is why we established the Agra Bear Rescue Facility, which is today the world's largest rehabilitation and conservation center for sloth bears. India's first ever bear rehabilitation center.
Each week, the staff readies dozens of meals of vitamin-enhanced porridge, eggs and fruit to feed more than 100 bears at the facility.
This is the largest rescue center for the sloth bears in the world. We have 186 sloth bears currently that we are taking care of. And as you can imagine, that's a big, huge amount of veterinary work and the administrative and the management work.
Food is checked by the veterinary team to make sure it has the right consistency for the delicate stomachs of these formerly captive dancing bears. Bears are fed one at a time in special feeding areas where they can be watched and monitored for health concerns. These bears have a reputation for standing their ground in the wild, and attacks on unwary humans are not uncommon. You do not want to get too close to a sloth bear when it's feeding.
Hey, buddy.
Final checks are made, and the bears are left to finish their food and will be returned to the open compound. A sloth bear saved from a life as a dancing bear cannot be released back into the wild, as it hasn't developed the necessary skills to survive. Here in the enclosures, bears are given a variety of enriching experiences to stimulate their naturally curious minds and exercise their bodies. Some of the bears here, like Millie, were rescued from painful leg hold traps, and her injuries mean she will have to stay. Millie has a special story. She was caught in the wild and found to be in a troubling state. Testing would reveal she was in dire need of medical attention. Eventually, she would be transferred to Wildlife SOS for more intensive examination and rehabilitation. But the road to this success was fraught with many difficulties.
We had to learn everything from scratch. We had no money either in the bank. We had 26 bears at our doorstep, and we had less than $5,000 in our bank. It was like there was some universal energy out there, and people all around the world wanted us to solve this problem and bring an end to this brutality that was going on with these bears, the horrific behavior that they suffered and the cruelty that they suffered had to be ended.
Another recent Wildlife SOS success story was Cooper, an 11-year-old bear from the Bannergetta Bear Rescue Center. He and his sibling were rescued as cubs from bear traffickers back in 2011. Healthy today, a few years ago, Cooper was unable to maintain his balance and could not walk. The SOS Veterinary team wanted to get to the bottom of these symptoms, conducting x-rays, ultrasound, and even an advanced MRI scan at a human diagnostic center. The vets discovered he was suffering from a brain hemorrhage in the left hemisphere, which was impacting his muscles' abilities to move on the right side. The treatment began with antibiotics and nerve stimulants, along with physical therapy. The probe used by the vet will help the bear regain some movement on its right side. Routine laser therapy is helping Cooper's spine and muscles in his back recover. He continues to show amazing improvement with each month of his stay at the rescue center. He's able to walk and make the climb up small structures in his pen area. Cooper, along with the other sloth bears at Wildlife SOS rescue centers, are showing marked improvement from the day they arrived and are enjoying enrichment opportunities in their enclosures. Mandated by the Forestry Department, bears are given medical checkups every 2 years. Some of their health has been clearly compromised by their upbringing as dancing bears.
We have a hospital here, veterinary hospital here, where we have the X-ray unit and we have ultrasound machine. We do dental surgeries. Well, dental surgery has its own kind of history because all these bears have come from the dancing bear trade, where their canines and the teeth were broken by the gypsies who danced them, the Qalandars who danced them. And so when those teeth are broken, these bears develop a lot of abnormal cracks in the bones of their jaw and bones of their faces. And when they keep eating the food, that food keeps lodging in those cracks, which causes all kinds of infections. And so when we looked at those kind of lesions in the mouth, we thought we need to do something about it. And we got trained by a team of veterinary dentists, which included a human dentist as well, to do the dental surgeries on the bears. And since then, as a team of vets from Wildlife SOS, we have done more than 200 dental surgeries.
Today, this bear is being prepped for pre-op examination of its vital signs and organs. The team wants to assure the anesthetic has taken full effect before transportation to the operating room.
So we have got the whole setup of veterinary. We have to take X-rays if it's a fracture case, of course. If we think of some infection in the lungs, we have to take the chest X-rays. And then we have the lab that has all the equipment required for the blood analysis and urine analysis and fecal analysis. We have CR, which is computer radiography, in which we can develop the X-rays real time. We can take the X-rays and develop them immediately.
Ultrasounds and X-rays are used to examine the animal's bowels and stomachs, as digestion can be a serious problem after living as dancing bears. Often in young bears, their systems weren't properly developed to cope with natural bear foods.
And how does it look?
Dancing bear rope removal can leave open wounds that will need to be monitored for infection. While under anesthesia, nails are cut, teeth, ears, and eyes are inspected for signs of disease. They also check lungs for signs of TB, and blood is collected to test for hepatitis, rabies, and other illnesses. Vaccines are given against infectious diseases like rabies and tetanus. For Geeta and Kartik, getting to this point of creating and building a state-of-the-art rescue facility has been a long road.
We were able to actually make ends meet, build a facility slowly, one brick at a time. And I remember Geeta and I camped in a little tent in the jungle to get the construction of the rehabilitation and the rescue center started. And it took us 3 years to get it completed to a point that we could have the bears comfortably ensconced in it. And we eventually rescued 628 bears. We just didn't stop. And we realized that even if this was going to take this entire lifetime, it was worth it, because we would have put an end to something that was completely unacceptable. And such a cruel, barbaric practice going on in the land of Mahatma Gandhi was just not acceptable. So we took his principles and we borrowed his principles. Mahatma Gandhi's principles were very special. It said, a nation is judged by the way it treats its animals. So that had to be addressed. So we just went on because people ridiculed us, people laughed at us, and people said, well, I mean, this is an endless journey that you're on. You'll never solve such a big problem. It's a controversial problem. It's a livelihood problem. How are you going to give livelihoods to 3,000 families? But we did. We managed it. And every single family got an alternative livelihood. We were able to send the children to school. We were able to establish them in better places. And I think that changed a lot of things. We rescued every single bear from across the streets of India.